In other news, ahead of Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to India, a controversy has erupted over a newspaper article jointly written by the envoys of the United Kingdom, France and Germany to India. Writing for the Times of India, the three envoys have blamed Russia for the war in Ukraine and accused Putin of total disregard for human life. Responding to the article, authored by UK's High Commissioner Lindy Cameron, French Ambassador Thierry Matteau and German Ambassador Philip Ackermann, a senior official in India's Ministry of External Affairs has said, "This is very unusual. It's not an acceptable diplomatic practice to give public advice on third country relations. We have taken note of it." The op-ed, titled "World Wants the Ukraine War to End, but Russia Doesn't Seem Serious About Peace," accused Russia of launching the war on Ukraine and said the attacks by Russia are a systematic choice by Russia to wage its war of aggression with absolute ruthlessness. The three envoys accused Russia of conducting malign global activity through cyber attacks and disinformation that show Russian leadership's appetite for territorial expansion and global destabilization goes well beyond Ukraine. The article further targeted the Russian president and said he stalls and delays serious peace talks. Among others, former Indian Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal described the article as public grandstanding with an overt propagandist intent. He said the article was vicious and breaches diplomatic norms. Its interference in our internal affairs as the purpose is to fuel anti-Russian sentiments in pro-European circles in India and question the morality of our ties with Russia. Sibal called on the MEA to express its displeasure publicly at this violation of diplomatic norms by the three ambassadors. Now, Russian ambassador to India, Denis Alipov, has hit back with an article of his own, also published in the Times of India, where he accuses Europe of treacheries. Countering the article by the other three envoys, Alipov has said this is another attempt to mislead the Indian public about the origin and context of the Ukraine war. He says Russia never sought war in Ukraine. It was Europe and the Obama administration in the US that precipitated the conflict in 2014 by orchestrating a coup in Ukraine to overthrow the then President Viktor Yanukovych. The Russian ambassador then goes on to say European leaders are shedding crocodile tears over the lost human lives, and Europe's hypocrisy is on full display in its efforts to sabotage the peace plan proposed by Trump. On Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a stern warning to European nations, declaring that Russia is ready for war should Europe provoke one. Speaking at an investment forum, Putin accused European governments of sabotaging attempts to end the war in Ukraine. He said amendments to a US-backed peace proposal had been deliberately crafted to derail negotiations. Putin said, "We're not planning to go to war with Europe, but if Europe wants a war, we are ready right now." He added that European leaders had no peace agenda, claiming they were on the side of war. As Putin spoke, a US delegation arrived in Moscow led by Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff. Accompanying him was Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. The two met Putin at the Kremlin in what the Russian side described as a 5-hour session aimed at advancing a revised US peace plan for Ukraine. According to Kremlin foreign policy advisor Yuri Yushakov, the talks were useful, constructive and substantive, yet ended without an agreement, especially on the most contentious question of territorial control in Ukraine. Yushakov said that while some proposals from Washington appeared more or less acceptable, many terms remain unacceptable to Russia, meaning the core dispute, territory and security guarantees, remains unresolved. Moscow claims the US proposals were reworked after protests from Kiev and some European capitals. Concerns that the plan conceded too much to Russia, including territorial losses for Ukraine and limitations on its military. Despite the diplomatic push, the gap between Russia's demands and Ukraine's, backed by Europe, remains wide. European leaders have warned that any settlement that undermines Ukraine's sovereignty could destabilize the entire region.
America is strong and respected again. On the world stage, we're really respected. In fact, I went to a NATO and they were calling me the president of Europe. We're doing very well. We have a lot of respect. As you know, we have a problem with a war that our people are trying to settle now with Russia and Ukraine. We are not involved in the war monetarily anymore. Biden gave away $350 billion like it was candy. That's a massive amount of money. We're trying to get that settled. I've settled 8 wars. This would be the 9th. And our people are over in Russia right now to see if we can get it settled. Not an easy situation, let me tell you. What a mess. It's a war that never would have happened if I were president. Not even a chance.
С Украиной мы там действуем хирургическим способом, аккуратненько, так, чтобы, ну, понятно, да, это не война в прямом современном смысле этого слова. Если Европа вдруг захочет начать с нами войну и начнет ее, то очень быстро произойти ситуация, при которой нам не с кем будет договариваться.
Важливо, щоб все це було справедливо і відкрито, щоб не було ніякої гри за спиною України, щоб нічого не було вирішено без України про нас, про наше майбутнє.